Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Columbus Business Beat, where we talk about everything business across Central Ohio. So joining me once again is Mark Summerson, with managing editor of Columbus Business First, and again, talking about everything that they've been working on and all the fun stuff that's been happening. So want to talk about one story that we have covered at NBC4 this week, too. Several shows were suddenly canceled at this local entertainment venue in Columbus. So, Mark, what's happening with this venue and those shows?
Yeah, this is the Columbus Athenaeum, right on 4th Street, downtown, real close to Capitol Square. Cool old building, built in either 1880 or 1898 or 1899. Was a Masonic temple forever. It was purchased a couple years back by a group called Temple Live. And what they do is they go all over the country, buy old Masonic temples, and put shows on there. I saw a show there last year. And before that, it was a wedding venue and all sorts of other things. But yeah, they suddenly announced pretty much across the country, wherever they had venues, they were stopping all their concerts, which just created a whole bunch of confusion in Central Ohio for people who had tickets to that show or had tickets to other shows. That it turns out that there are other promoters that have shows there. Mm-hmm. So we were a little confused for the first couple of days when this came out. Now there are some shows that were going to be there that are now being moved to other places around downtown in that area for those concerts. But it looks like this company is basically going out of business and has shut down all the shows that they had planned at these temples across the country. We're talking about Cleveland, Wichita, Kansas, Peoria, Illinois, Fort Smith, Arkansas, and others. And yeah, those venues are having similar issues where people are logging in to see about what shows they're going to see and seeing that they're all canceled.
I was going to say, I drive past it sometimes, and it looks like a pretty cool venue. It's disappointing that, if they seem to be going out of business.
It is so large. It's 160,000 square feet with all sorts of smaller stage rooms, large stage rooms, ballrooms. It's just a cool old building, and it's got a lot of the temple symbolism on it still. Mm-hmm. The first time I went into it was for a wedding back 20-some years ago, and I just fell in love with it. It's just this great old architecture. Mm-hmm. Inside, it needed a lot of work, and it still does, to be honest. When I went to see that show there last year, it was still a little dark and needed some updating, but, they were putting shows on. They're not huge shows, but it's kind of sad because this is closing at the same time, or it appears to be closing, as Rambling House and some other smaller venues where music was played. And this is at a time when Music Columbus and the city is trying to promote more music in Columbus because it's such an economic driver.
Yeah.
So to lose another stage or a few stages within the Athenaeum, it's just bad timing for Columbus. And it's too bad because there are a lot of acts that can't fill an arena and are too big for a small basement or music hall. This was that nice in-between size where you could fit a few thousand people in, and it was just a neat old place. And right now, it's sort of up in the air what's going to happen to it, whether it gets sold by the owners from this, and who would pick it up, and what kind of work it would take to turn it around into something else.
Yeah, and I do want to mention later in this episode, we're actually going to talk about Rambling House, too. So with ticket holders that bought tickets for these shows that were canceled or moved or whatever is happening, are they going to at least have a chance to receive a refund?
That's what they're saying, yeah, that the refunds are on the way. And for those who had shows booked through other groups, I believe this other one was called Celebrity, Etc. They have moved shows to the Blue Note and some other places in the downtown area. So if you have a show that was that you have tickets for at that Athenaeum, make sure that it's either been canceled or it may have been moved. So you might not be able to get your money back, but you might be able to see them at another downtown venue.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned earlier, Mark, there was some confusion when it came to the show cancelings. Are there still going to be shows still happening at the venue, certain shows for like the next couple of months?
I don't know. That's a great question. I'm pretty sure that everything's being moved out of there now. I don't know about the upkeep and whether all the maintenance and electricity and water is all being upkept. We haven't heard anything from the company. They've been very quiet. They were on a TV station, I believe, in up in Cleveland, and at least said, yeah, everything is just off right now. So,
Okay.
yeah, I have a feeling that folks who had tickets for shows there are just going to miss out right now. And yeah, we'll have to see what happens with whether the building is sold, whether the building is rehabbed. It's just this cool old historic building downtown, and you would hate to see it go, but it's so big. It takes up almost a whole block right down there on 4th.
All right. We'll definitely have to keep an eye on that. So our next story, I want to talk about Hot Chicken Takeover. They recently closed a location in Gahanna and Grandview Heights not too long ago, and now another restaurant has closed. So what's that latest location that's shut down?
This one, because we have been writing so much about it, it's in Westerville. Yeah, this one it closed on Tuesday, was the last day of business. One of our reporters went up there to just double check that it was closed because we heard rumors. He may have gotten one of the last meals there. He said it was pretty good, but the brand has had all sorts of trouble. It's been sold twice since Joe DeLoss created this brand a little more than a decade ago. Their first opening was at the North Market. They are still at the North Market. It is the only location for Hot Chicken Takeover that's left after the Westerville one closed. They've already closed, like Lewis Center closed in January. Easton Gateway closed in March. Clintonville closed in July. As you mentioned, Grandview and Gahanna closed last week. It leaves one. And we talked to Rick Harrison Wolf over at North Market. The way he says it, it doesn't look good for its future. So whether it can stay, they paid their rent up through August, and we haven't heard anything about September yet. They're still open there, but just in my gut, I feel like it's not going to last much longer.
Yeah, which is really sad because, I mean, I haven't had it in a long time, but everyone used to love Hot Chicken Takeover, and it was really good. So I don't know if you mentioned it, Mark. Have you guys reached out to anyone with Hot Chicken Takeover about any of this stuff?
Yeah, they haven't returned our phone calls yet. We're still waiting. But, you know, the first time that Joe DeLoss sold it in 2022, he wasn't really happy with the direction that it was going, and he was staying on sort of as a consultant. It was sold again, and that company, which I believe is Craveworthy, they said, we are going back to the original recipe. We're going to be adding things that were removed. We're going to make this like the old Hot Chicken Takeover. But it seems like the damage was done. They weren't seeing huge crowds, and closing all of these different stores just means that there's not a lot going on there. Now, Craveworthy has a lot of brands around the country. This is just one of them, and it's sad because it really is a Columbus institution that was created. It was so different when it opened. A lot of hot chicken is around now, but back then it was something kind of new, especially in the North Market. And it takes up an enormous amount of space on the second floor there. So if that ends up leaving, I don't know what would fill that space. But yeah, we're hoping for the best, but it's sort of expecting the worst.
All right, Mark, I know you'll keep us updated on that. Thank you so much. Of course, we'll be back with more business news. We'll talk to NBC4 digital reporters David Reese and Ava Boldazar. That's after this break. Welcome back to Columbus Business Beat. As always, joining me now are digital reporters David Reese and Ava Boldazar, talking about some of the fun business stuff that they've been working on this week. And I feel like we've had a lot of stuff come out this week. So, David, I'll start with you. Rambling House Music Bar closing after more than a decade. I drive past this sometimes. When and why are they closing?
Yeah. So Rambling House is an Old North venue that has welcomed Columbus musicians, artists, poetry artists for more than a decade, almost 11 years, and they have set a closing date. So located on East Hudson Street, the bar announced on social media that it'll be shutting its doors come October 1st. And this comes after some of the owners tried to list the bar for sale earlier this summer, but unfortunately, it looks like that sale has not panned out.
And I was going to say, you said it was listed for sale. Is there still a chance that they could potentially stay open? Just depends on if someone buys it.
Yeah, well, they said in the announcement, that they are still looking for a buyer and they welcome that person if they were to step up and that they would work with them and provide favorable terms. But, obviously that has not happened yet. And so they are sticking to the October 1st date as of right now.
So if anyone bought tickets for any of the shows that were at this venue, will they be reimbursed? What's happening with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So shows at Rambling will run as scheduled through the October 1st closing date. And then any shows after that musicians and artists that were booked for those dates will be contacted through the booking team. And then those that have purchased tickets will receive a refund automatically.
I was going to say, it's really cute, and it's been open for more than a decade. So hopefully, fingers crossed that someone ends up buying it.
I know, 11 years. It was more of like an intimate space, really small, but I know that it was, really beloved by local Columbus musicians for sure.
Yeah. Well, we'll move on to our next story. Ava, you wrote about a new burger restaurant that's coming to Central Ohio. What is the company and where's it opening?
The restaurant is called Bear Burger, and it's opening in the building that formerly housed Melt Bar and Grilled at Easton. And as the name implies, Bear Burger primarily serves burgers, but it has a really large variety of options, including elk burgers, bison burgers, vegan burgers, and it serves some other items such as chicken sandwiches and cheesesteaks. And it's also known for its milkshakes.
I was going to say, it all looks really good. I'm looking at the pictures right now. Is there an opening date yet, or is it kind of just in the, well, you said it's already open.
Yeah, so it is already open. They just held their grand opening on Friday, and it's now open daily for lunch and dinner.
Perfect. That gives me another excuse to visit Easton and try all the fun stuff. So are there any other locations that they have in Ohio?
There is one other location in Ohio, and it's in the short north, and that opened in 2014. And the owner that opened the short north one also opened the Easton restaurant.
Okay. Well, I'm going to have to try out. I'm going to put you guys on the spot. They just love when I put them on the spot. I know, Ava, you like vegan burgers probably, and David, I'm assuming you probably like regular burgers.
I do.
What's your guys' favorite toppings for burgers? Do you guys like to go all crazy, or is it kind of just like plain Jane?
I get everything. I like onion, lettuce, tomato, crispy onion, any sauces. I'll take all of it.
Yeah. David?
I have a great answer. The
Let's
best
hear it.
burgers are at Red Robin because the Royal Burger has an over easy egg on top, and it's fantastic. And I was devastated when the Red Robin at Easton closed. My family loved that location. We went there for birthdays for so many years when I was younger. Love Red Robin. They have great burgers.
We went to Red Robin all the time when I was a kid. When we used to come up to Columbus for like dance competitions,
Oh, yeah.
we would always come to Red Robin. And like as a kid, I don't know if they had them before they closed, but they used to have the TVs in like the
yes.
floor.
Yeah, the Easton one had that. Yeah.
I don't know why as a kid I was like, wow, that's so cool. They have TVs in the floor. I don't know.
It was a staple.
Very wild. I'm the same with you, Ava. I like to have onions, lettuce, tomato, whatever homemade sauce they have at the restaurant. I like to try that out too. So definitely going to have to try Bear Burger. And finally, Ava has a story that just came out talking about the cities with the lowest level of traffic congestion. And believe it or not, Columbus actually made that list. So Ava, where did they rank?
On the list of the cities that experience the least traffic congestion, Columbus ranked in the top 10 at number 7. And the study found that Columbus residents have an average commute time of 24.9 minutes.
Which is crazy because, I don't know, living in Columbus, I feel like I'm always stuck in traffic. I don't know about you guys. Like right now, I don't take a highway to work. I take like, back roads or whatever, but it still takes me a while to get home. So do you guys take any highways that get to work and back home that it takes a long time?
No, I certainly do. But I feel like more often than not, it's not accidents or any sort of crash or collision. It's just, we're sitting around for a while and then you're waiting to see that accident come up and then it's never there. We were just all taking our sweet time, so it's sort of like we're all just moseying along apparently.
Yeah, that's how it used to be when I used to live around the Polaris area. I would take 315 and I'd be stuck in traffic and I'd be waiting. I'm like, is there some sort of accident? And then I get up to like around my exit and I'm like, no, it's congestion.
Yeah.
And Ava, I know it's interesting too in this. Where did Cleveland rank in this?
Cleveland actually ranked better than Columbus. It ranked really high at number 3, and Cleveland's average commute time was 24.7 seconds, just a few points lower than Columbus.
Which is crazy because obviously Cleveland is a bigger city, so you would think that they would just have more traffic and congestion than us. So I'm really surprised by that. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's because I don't know how many construction projects are in Cleveland, because I know always in Columbus there's always something with highway construction or streets, anything. So maybe that has to do with it.
Yeah, that's
But
a really
again,
great point.
Yeah, but again, I don't know how many construction projects are in Cleveland. So.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, thank you both for joining me so much, talking about all the fun stories you're working on. We'll be back after this break with Mark Summerson with Columbus Business First after this break. Welcome back. Mark joining me once again to talk about business news across Central Ohio. So we've talked about data centers before on the show, Mark. They're growing in Ohio, and one Central Ohio township has put a pause on data centers in the area. So kind of tell me what's happening with Jerome Township.
Yeah, this was very unexpected. That whole area of north of Columbus, in different counties just outside of Franklin, have been inviting data centers to come in. They're all over the place. I mean, Licking County and New Albany's doors are wide open for data centers, and they hope they get to expand there. So it was a little odd for us to learn that Jerome Township has voted to put a moratorium on it. It's a 9-month moratorium on data centers, saying we don't need any more of these right now. We need to protect our township infrastructure. We don't want to spend a lot of money putting in new roads, new electricity, new water to make sure these data centers are there until we know that these are going to be viable. There are those critics out there that say that they keep building these data centers, but are we going to need this many data centers in the next 5 to 10 years? And that's a question nobody really can answer. We know that it's exploding around Central Ohio, and this seems to be the first township and local government to enact such a hiatus. This was brand new, not sure exactly why, but they said, look, this is a huge strain on our utilities, infrastructure costs that we can't afford right now, so we'll let the other communities put these in. We're going to watch to see what happens. We'll revisit this again in 9 months.
And I was going to say, once the 9 months is up again, could they approve another moratorium if they wanted to?
Yeah, if they want to, they can continue to do this. I don't know how long they want to do that, but I think this gives them a little breathing room to watch what else is happening. Because as we talked about a week ago, the number of co-location data centers that are opening has grown in the last 5 years by something like 1,800%. So it is, we started out with low numbers, but it's all you see being built around the 270 or data centers, especially up north. So yeah, this was on top of a moratorium. If you remember that American Electric Power had tried to place a moratorium saying no more power companies until they pay us for at least this much that they're going to use down the road, so it doesn't end up costing consumers down the road. Now, that has all been solved by a lot of these data centers that are building their own power sources, but at the same time, the infrastructure that does go into them, places like New Albany can afford that right now, but this township says we can't, and we're just going to sit and watch to see what happens.
I was going to say, is that all their plan right now, is to kind of sit and watch, or are there other steps officials are taking to possibly consider having a data center in the area?
Yeah, this says this provides a critical opportunity for us. This is one of the township members wrote in this moratorium. This provides us a critical opportunity for us to revise our zoning resolution, implement stricter guidelines, because right now their zoning is wide open for this. So a data company can come in, such as Meta or Google or Amazon Web Services, and say, we want to build here. We're going to buy this land. You have to help us do this. And so this moratorium, like I said, gives a little bit of breathing room to see what their options are in the future, whether they need to redo their zoning. They just felt like they were under pressure, that these things were going to start moving in, and they just want to preserve their land for now. You know, I think a lot of communities would rather see housing go in. That costs a lot for infrastructure as well. But the construction over time, that sort of brings in new people, which brings in more property taxes, whereas a data center brings in property taxes, but few people, because once those are open, 4 or 5 people man them, and that's pretty much it for income tax then.
Yeah. Well, I know you guys will, again, keep us updated once that moratorium is up and their decision on all that.
Yes.
So our last story, Dutch Brothers is coming to Central Ohio. So, I mean, it's new to the area. What is Dutch Brothers?
It's a coffee company out of Oregon that's really, really growing fast, extremely popular on the West Coast. They opened up in a number of cities. I've heard that in Phoenix, when they opened up, there were lines around the building. I don't know much about them. We had written a story a week ago that their first one was opening in Cincinnati. That would be their first Ohio branch. That got a lot of excitement among readers. Then we learned that they have plans to open one in Columbus. This would be on North Hamilton Road, really close to the Hamilton Quarter development. The property is currently in Plain Township. It would need to be annexed in Columbus according to the filing with the city. But the city says, yeah, we're going to look at this and see what happens. It was founded in 1992 by two brothers in Oregon, like I said, but they have grown a lot. The company went public in 2021. It's been a major growth streak since then. Revenue has grown more than 32% over the previous year to $1.3 billion in 2024. They're now headquartered in Arizona, and they're opening a lot of stores there. They have more than 1,000 locations in 19 states, and they want to double that by 2029.
Wow. That's crazy. And I know you mentioned that this is going to open or potentially open near Hamilton Quarter. I feel like we've had a lot of business growth and new shops in this Hamilton Quarter area, correct?
Oh, yeah. The city's been very high on that. A lot of businesses moving in. There's a lot of housing that's going in there. I bet you there's already a Starbucks nearby, but there's a Starbucks nearby everywhere in Central Ohio.
Yeah.
We'll have to see how Dutch Brothers does. But, yeah, it's a brand that a lot of people are already associated with from out west. Having it come into Columbus, we'll see how it does, but I have a feeling you're going to see a lot more of these pop up.
And that was going to be my next question. Is there any word on a potential expansion once this Columbus one opens, or is that still kind of, we're going to wait and see?
Let's use Sheetz as an indicator. Remember when Sheetz says we're going to see how we do here? Now there's a Sheetz everywhere.
Everywhere.
I think with that kind of growth plan where they hope to double their the number of locations from 1,000 to 2,000 in the next 4 or 5 years, you're going to see more across Central Ohio. This is one of those markets where, people love coffee anyway, and they will drive and go and get it wherever it is. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and say you're gonna see a number of these pop up.
I was gonna say I actually am one of those people where if I find out there's a new coffee spot and it's popular on social media, I will drive to get an iced coffee or something that they have. Do you like coffee?
I do, but I drink the cheap, terrible stuff at work that is provided for us because I just need the caffeine early in the morning. On the weekends, I splurge and have a little nicer coffee.
Yeah, that you and me both. I'm kind of an energy drink person during the week.
Okay.
If I have coffee, I'll make it at home.
Yeah.
But yeah, during the weekends, I like to try out new places across Central Ohio because again, there's coffee places everywhere. Not even just Starbucks. We have a lot of different companies for people to try out. So yeah, I'm excited to see that. Mark, thank you so much for joining me once again on Columbus Business Beat. And of course, that's going to do it for this episode. The show is produced in partnership with Columbus Business First and is available to watch in multiple places. So each week the program will premiere at 6:30 p.m. Thursday on the NBC4 Columbus streaming channel. The app is available for download on smart TVs with Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV. Latest episode will also be available for watching on demand under the featured shows section. The program will be available the following Mondays for additional viewing on NBC4i.com and on NBC4's YouTube channel. Of course, for more information, you can visit NBC4i.com/stream. And of course, for more information about Business First and how you can subscribe, just go to columbusbusinessfirst.com or you can scan the QR code on your screen right now. We'll see you here next week on the NBC4 Columbus streaming channel.